Happy Father's Day weekend, happy Juneteenth weekend, and hello, beautiful. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful, I Am Colored. We are now in season 2 of the podcast and have morphed into a talk show. Each week, I'll be sharing some insights with you that I've learned throughout my week, and I'll also be interviewing guests from time to time. The interviews will align with themes highlighted in my book, Beautiful, I Am Colored, having to do with spirit, mind, soul, and body. I am honored that you have returned to hear more, and as always, I appreciate your support. For those interested, you can follow me on Instagram at Beautiful I Am Colored, on my website, beautifuliamcolored.com, and you can now purchase an ebook version of my book, also available on my website. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into shout outs and thank yous for this week. As you know, if you've been listening to the past several weeks now in season 2, I start off just with shout outs and moments of gratitude that I've had throughout the week. So the first shout out for this week goes to the Juneteenth, City and County of Denver Juneteenth organizers, namely Mr. Norman Harris, who has been leading those efforts for the past several years here. For those of you who don't know, Juneteenth event and music festival weekend covers a span of 2 days here in the city. And so yesterday, I had the pleasure of attending the parade portion as well as walk around a little bit. Although it was hot as Hades, I have to say, yesterday, which is always hot at Juneteenth, but yesterday, was really, really up there. But well done job by the organizers. Always enjoy attending Juneteenth every year. And honestly, Juneteenth was something that I wasn't really made aware of until after I moved out west, because it's not a big thing in the South growing up. And so I encourage all of you, if you are not aware of the historical significance of the Juneteenth weekend, to please do some research, find out more about Juneteenth, why it is such an important holiday. And this is the first year that the state of Colorado has commemorated it, an official state holiday, meaning state employees, I know now can get the day off work, a paid day off work, in order to celebrate the long weekend. So again, all of the organizers, volunteers for the Juneteenth weekend, Juneteenth Music Festival, thank you so much. It's always such a joy to see all of you. Second, in honor of Father's Day, for those of you who have read my book or listened to the previous podcast where I've read my book aloud during season 1, you'll know that I have a story called Longing for Dad, which kind of just highlights, my short memories of my father who was killed by the time I was 4. And so what I made a promise to myself some years ago when my paternal grandfather had passed is that I was going to do my due diligence in terms of getting some long sought out answers to questions that I've had about my father's killing, which interestingly enough, I'll get into this more in today's podcast, but interestingly enough, I was led to believe, or maybe I just believed myself, I'm not sure, pretty much the majority of my life, well until I was in my 30s, that my father had drowned and that it was a drowning incident. It wasn't until subsequent years, as I've aged, that I found out that he was killed. And so I have made it kind of like one of my life's missions to seek the answers, one of which is finding out who killed my father. And so the next shout out goes to a lady who right now is going to remain unnamed because this is fresh news. My investigation is ongoing and it's pretty much low key aside from me telling you what it is. So I'm going to use my words wisely. But I had the pleasure of talking to a lady this past week who knew my father, and I got to learn so much more about him. And so it was just so good. And I'm just so thankful that person knows who she is, whether she listens to this podcast or not, doesn't even matter. As you know, I believe in putting things out in the ether. And so more to come on that in the future. But right now, I'm not going to disclose the name. And I just want to say thank you, though. The conversation was amazing. We talked for well over an hour on the phone. It took me not that long to track her down, actually. And so I'm very, very thankful that things are coming together in that regard. Okay, I think it is time for us to go ahead and jump into the show today, which is going to be all about fathers and Father's Day. I'm going to reread the snippet Longing for Dad first, and then that'll cascade into just a very brief conversation about fathers and specifically the importance of Black fathers or the lack thereof. All right, stay tuned. Be back in just a second. Oh my God. Happy Father's Day again, everyone. This is going to be quite interesting because I cannot wait to record this because, I have to stay with my goals and objectives. And so for Father's Day, Marlon one of the things he wanted was a CD player so he could play some old CDs. So I got the CD player, and even though I said I was coming down to the basement to record, he said that he was going to go ahead and play his music, I guess. So, happy Father's Day. So I'm going to just go ahead and record anyhow. And so I apologize in advance if you hear a whole lot of noise in the background. Hopefully this comes through clear, though. So I wanted to share just a snippet of my book before I cascade in today's conversation. This comes from the story titled Longing for Dad. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it so to paint some context. And then I'll elaborate on the shout out and thank you segment of the unnamed woman. Longing for Dad. My father died by the time I was 4, and although I did not know the meaning of death, I knew it was a sorrowful thing. My mother took us to the wake. I later found out that she would not allow us at his funeral. I'm not sure about other cultures' funeral ceremonies, but at Black folks' funerals, people can act a full-class monkey. So I think my mom wanted to protect us, my brother and me, from that. I still remember how he looked in the casket. I could see the large scar going down the middle of his forehead, the result of a drowning incident, I was later told. My father's death has always been a great mystery of my life. Whether he was good or bad, why couldn't I have known him? Why didn't I get the opportunity to decide to like him or not? That was my first experience of grief. Okay, so that's a snippet from my book, Beautiful, I Am Colored, from the story Longing for Dad. And I think what I want to say today about this is, first of all, if you have your father in your life, count it a complete blessing and honor. The fact that you have the privilege to, like I was saying in my book, to get to know them or not, like them or not, count it as a blessing, because I can just tell you as a person now who has lived a seasoned life thus far, the void that you carry when you don't have a father, whether it be voluntarily or involuntarily, is huge. It's huge. And if you don't know how to deal with it, it can cascade into other areas of your life. And so I wanted to spend today talking a little bit about how my father's death. In the book, you'll notice that I wrote that he was a drowning incident. And although that's partly true, the real truth is that my father was actually killed. And so to date, there has not been a person or persons who have, at least to my knowledge, have been arrested for his murder. And so it still shocks me today to have to say strong words like kill or murder, but that's just the facts nonetheless. But I've made it my kind of quiet mission that I was going to do my due diligence and see what I could find out. Because, families are good for keeping secrets. And so I'm committed to overturning some stones and digging up some stuff to find out what really happened. One, because I deserve it. And two, because I just believe in justice and truth. And so I've been on and off kind of working on this investigation for several years now. Sometimes it gets too hard, but I'm at a good place now to where it's not actually that hard at all. And I'm quite relieved. I was quite relieved to find one of the people who I wanted to track down to talk more about my dad, to find out about him specifically. I wanted to find out, did I even have the opportunity to be a daddy's girl? Because in my mind, in my imagination, I should say, I always thought that I would be, a daddy's girl. But without having my father here to confirm that, it's stayed where it is in my imagination. So I'm so happy to share with you that after talking to someone who knew my dad before he died, I was able to confirm that indeed I was a daddy's girl, according to her, and found out things that you may not think are significant, but they're significant to me. Things like, my dad went shopping for me, bought me things consistently, and that he loved me dearly. And so that meant the world to me to find that and get that piece closed out. But I can just tell you all I did was whet my appetite to continue my investigation and try to get some answers to his death. So that's what I wanted to share about my dad. And this show, by the way, is dedicated to my father, Elvin Booth. May he rest in peace and power. So next segment is going to cascade into a little bit more about some insights I said and some observations, not from an experiential standpoint, but just some conversations that I've had recently with men that give me pause about some of the behaviors of some women. And yeah, we're going to get into it. 1 second. Be right back for the next segment. So I'm back and titling this segment Unanswered Questions. And I say that this is the title because I'm going to very, very briefly discuss or leave you with some questions that I've been thinking through this week, not because I've been impacted by what I'm going to pose to you directly, but indirectly, I most definitely have been impacted by growing up without a father in my life. And so because of, the research that I'm doing, my own father's life, I definitely have pondered, several questions. And also I've had recent conversations and in times past conversations from single Black men who are formerly married or never married, single, but have kids, and who, make sure they pay their child support, do everything they can to spend time with their children. And it has really just baffled me at some of the stories that I've been told lately, about people going through all kinds of things just to see or have access to their children. And keep in mind, these are individuals who, if their children are in their custody, they don't have any type of negative things that occur. They are not, criminals. Their child is not in danger. In fact, the people who I've conversed with and conferred with, and talked about this with, are people of means, on their own homes, and still have challenges with seeing their children. And so the question that I was thinking to myself this week was, and this is not in order of priority, but if you have children, regardless of if you have multiple dad situation or not, if you have children and the father of those children or that child wants to see the child, is trying to do everything in their power to see the child, why would a person not allow that child to spend time with the parent? Why? And so I got to thinking, and I was like, well, regardless of the relationship status between the mother and father, maybe you wanted to stay together and the man didn't want to stay together or whatever. Regardless of that, the question Again, I know I do not have direct experience with this, so please don't take this critically. I'm just asking a few questions. Why would an individual do all kinds of things to prevent the parent from seeing their child, especially a father? And I'm not saying and giving weight for one parent to role or the other. I'm truly not. But I can just tell you, and I've done well for myself, I'd have to say, and pat myself on the back for that. But still, I feel like I would have been a much different person had I had the opportunity to have, a constant and consistent father figure in my life. And it's not to say that I didn't have, that broader support from family members, most of which who were women. I just think that I would have been a completely different person, a different version of who I am. And so I'll never know that, of course, because my father was taken from this earth at such a young age. But that is the question that I've been thinking through, which leads me to the next question. The next question, which some of you may think is more of a challenge, is why not? Why not allow your child to spend time with their father, or children with their father? If the child is not in danger, if the father is being as supportive as he can be, consistently, what is the problem? And honestly, even if they were not able to financially be of a support in that way, the way that maybe some people might imagine, if they wanted to engage in spending time with the child, because that's just as valuable as, material things. Not to say that I'm not saying that that's not important. So please hear me in balance and harmony. But why not? Why not do what you can to foster that relationship, regardless of your relationship with the individual? And you guys don't have to like each other at all. But wouldn't one think that it's in the best interest of the child if you actually work together so that there was a schedule or there was some time spent with the child? So those are some of the things that I've been thinking through this week, like I said, as I research my own father's history. And so I'm going to leave it right there, because I've actually had a really, really good, but still heavy week in some of the research that I found. And again, I just want to say thank you to the woman who's unnamed for talking to me this week. Talked to a few family members this week as well. Just been so encouraging. I'll keep you all updated on what I find out, if I'm able to share about my investigation / research on my own father. But in the meantime, maybe it's time to broaden, expand, for those of you who have children who are under the age of 18, to encourage and foster those relationships. Fathers play such a pivotal and critical role in children's lives. Allow the child to make a decision, if they don't want to be around the father or not, without manipulative influence, without your perspective as the adult weighing heavy on the child, assuming, of course, there's no abuse at play. Anyway, it's just food for thought, some things that I've been thinking about as I navigate, again, the research for my own father. I hope that all of you have had a wonderful Father's Day, Juneteenth holiday weekend. I cannot thank you enough for tuning in to me. I appreciate your support. And thanks again. And that wraps up another show for this week. As always, I hope that you have enjoyed it. But more than anything, I pray that each week that you have found a sense of hope and healing in hearing what I share, as well as hearing other people's stories. You can contact me at beautiful.iamcolored@gmail.com. Visit me on my website at beautifuliamcolored.com. Or follow me on Instagram under the same handle. I am your host, Evelyn, and remember, the future you is waiting on you. Until next time, beautiful. Happy Father's Day, everyone.